Welcome to the all-new Hoop Nova, your ultimate source for everything basketball.
The Golden State Warriors keep saying they want to compete while Steph Curry is still playing at an elite level. But when you look at their decisions over the past few years, a different story starts to emerge. Whether they admit it or not, the organization seems more focused on protecting its future than maximizing the final championship window of the greatest player in franchise history. That became even more obvious during the latest wave of off-season rumors. For years, LeBron James has openly talked about how much he respects Steph Curry. Fans have dreamed about the two legends sharing the same court. And this summer, those conversations suddenly felt more realistic than ever. Reports suggested that Golden State had an opportunity to make something happen, but there was one major condition. According to multiple reports, LeBron wanted Anthony Davis to be part of the deal as well. If the Warriors could bring both stars to San Francisco, LeBron was willing to seriously consider joining forces with Steph, but making that happen would have required sacrifice. Anthony Davis isn't the type of player you acquire without giving up premium assets. Draft picks, young talent, and future flexibility would all have been on the table. That's exactly where Golden State drew the line. Instead of going all in for another championship run with Curry, the front office reportedly chose to protect its future draft capital. And honestly, this isn't a new pattern. Remember the two timelines strategy? While Steph Curry was still dominating the NBA, the Warriors tried balancing championship aspirations with rebuilding for the future. They drafted James Wiseman second overall, hoping he'd become the franchise's next superstar. That experiment failed almost immediately. Then came Jonathan Kuminga, another incredibly talented prospect who was expected to become the next cornerstone. Instead of maximizing his value through a clear role or moving him when his trade value was highest, the Warriors held on to him while uncertainty surrounded his development. Now his value isn't nearly what it once was. Time after time, Golden State has chosen patience over urgency. That approach may make sense for a rebuilding team, but the Warriors aren't rebuilding. They still have Stephen Curry. That's what makes these decisions so difficult to understand. Every season, Steph continues to play at an all-NBA level is another opportunity that can't be replaced. Players don't stay elite forever, and Curry has already given this franchise everything imaginable. 4 championships, 2 MVP awards, countless unforgettable moments. If anyone has earned an aggressive front office willing to gamble on winning another title, it's him. Instead, Golden State appears comfortable protecting assets that may not help for years. Looking ahead to next season only makes the situation more concerning. Jimmy Butler is expected to miss significant time while recovering from injury, meaning the Warriors will likely spend months without their biggest offseason addition. That leaves a 38-year-old Stephen Curry carrying almost the entire offensive load. That's asking a lot from anyone, even one of the greatest players ever. Meanwhile, the Western Conference keeps getting stronger. Oklahoma City looks like the team to beat after building one of the deepest young rosters in basketball. San Antonio continues improving around Victor Wembanyama and appears ready to compete much sooner than expected. The Lakers, Nuggets, Rockets, and Timberwolves all have rosters that on paper look stronger than Golden State's entering the season. Then there are teams that could surprise people. Portland has quietly added talent and could make a legitimate playoff push. The Clippers and Suns still have enough star power to stay competitive if healthy. Even rebuilding teams like Utah and Dallas suddenly have reasons for optimism. Utah added another elite young prospect while preparing to bring back veterans who barely played during their rebuilding season. Dallas continues building around its young core while surrounding them with experienced role players determined to compete every night. The Western Conference isn't getting easier, it's getting brutal. If Curry misses even a few weeks, where does Golden State find offense? Who consistently creates shots? Who carries the scoring load until Butler returns? Those are real questions with no easy answers. The front office clearly believes keeping future first-round picks is worth more than making one final championship push. Maybe they're betting that those selections become valuable trade assets later. Maybe they believe they'll eventually find the franchise's next superstar through the draft. History suggests that strategy isn't guaranteed. The Warriors have already missed on several opportunities to land superstar talent over the years. Giannis Antetokounmpo never became available. Pascal Siakam ended up elsewhere. LeBron stayed away. Jimmy Butler was the biggest addition they managed to secure, and even that came with significant uncertainty. The situation feels eerily similar to what happened in Dallas during Dirk Nowitzki's final years. The Mavericks desperately tried surrounding Dirk with another superstar after winning the 2011 championship, but every major free agent chose another destination. Dirk remained loyal until retirement, and eventually Dallas found Luka Doncic through the draft, allowing one legend to pass the torch to another. Golden State can't count on lightning striking twice, finding another generational. Superstar isn't a strategy, it's luck. And that's why so many fans are frustrated. Today, Stephen Curry is still performing like one of the NBA's elite players. He's not simply finishing a farewell tour. He's still capable of leading a championship contender if given enough help. The question isn't whether Steph still has greatness left. The question is whether the Warriors are willing to do everything possible to give him one last realistic shot at another title before that championship window finally closes. Stephen Curry is still doing things that almost nobody in NBA history has ever accomplished. Last season, he averaged more than 26 points per game while playing fewer than 31 minutes a night. That's an incredibly rare combination of scoring efficiency and workload management. In fact, only Curry and Giannis Antetokounmpo have ever reached those numbers in a single season. That alone should tell you one thing. Steph isn't washed. He's not hanging around because of nostalgia. He's still one of the league's most dangerous offensive players and someone every contender would love to build around. That's why so many fans are frustrated with the Warriors' approach. Instead of maximizing the final years of an all-time great, Golden State continues making decisions that seem focused on tomorrow instead of today. Of course, there could be another plan that simply hasn't revealed itself yet. Maybe the front office is setting up something much bigger behind the scenes. Until we know for sure, it's fair to give them the benefit of the doubt. But before we get there, we have to talk about Draymond Green. His offseason has been surprisingly quiet. After declining his nearly $28 million player option, many assumed a new contract would be finalized quickly. The expectation was that Golden State was creating financial flexibility while exploring bigger moves, especially after reports connected LeBron James to the Warriors. Once LeBron ultimately chose another destination, most people expected Draymond's new deal to be announced almost immediately. Instead, nothing happened. That raises an interesting question. Is Draymond simply negotiating for more money, or is he exploring other situations that give him a better chance to compete for another championship? Some fans would immediately call that disloyal, but from Draymond's perspective, the relationship may have already changed. Last season, his name reportedly appeared in trade discussions for the first time in years. Whether those talks were serious or not, the message was clear. Nobody was untouchable anymore. At the same time, reports suggested the organization made a long-term commitment to Jimmy Butler after acquiring him, viewing him as one of the franchise's core pieces moving forward. If you're Draymond Green, it's hard not to notice what's happening. The team you've spent your entire career with has shown it's willing to move on if the right opportunity presents itself. Once that line has been crossed, it's only natural to start thinking about your own future instead of waiting for someone else to decide. That's why the possibility of Draymond leaving isn't nearly as shocking as it would have seemed a few years ago. And if he does become available, there will be no shortage of interested teams. One intriguing possibility would be a sign and trade involving Philadelphia. Draymond has long admired LeBron James, and the opportunity to join another veteran-led contender could certainly appeal to him. In a hypothetical scenario, Golden State could focus less on immediate talent and more on collecting valuable draft assets while taking a calculated gamble on a player with enormous upside despite major injury concerns. Would that move carry risk? Absolutely. But losing Draymond for nothing would also be a difficult outcome. At least a sign and trade gives the Warriors flexibility, future draft capital, and additional options as they reshape the roster around Curry and Butler. Still, maybe none of that happens because the Warriors have a completely different strategy. The biggest clue might actually be their salary cap situation. After next season, Golden State's financial picture becomes remarkably clean. Most of their current commitments disappear, leaving enormous cap flexibility and control of nearly all their future draft picks. That's an unusual position for a veteran contender. Instead of being trapped by massive long-term contracts, they'll have room to chase another superstar if the right opportunity becomes available. There are several ways they could use that flexibility. they could absorb a star through a sign-and-trade, aggressively pursue a marquee free agent, or package draft picks together in another blockbuster deal. The list of potential targets could be fascinating depending on how the league changes over the next year. Young restricted free agents like Amon Thompson, Ausar Thompson, and Brandon Miller could become interesting situations to monitor. Veteran stars such as Kawhi Leonard or Michael Porter Jr. could also become available under the right circumstances. Then, there are player option candidates like LeBron James, Karl Anthony Towns, or Kyrie Irving if their current situations take unexpected turns. And of course, every fan dreams about the impossible scenario, landing a true generational superstar. While names like Nikola Jokic are extremely unrealistic, the point remains that Golden State will have the financial flexibility to at least explore opportunities instead of being boxed into the same roster. The problem is timing. By the time those opportunities arrive, Stephen Curry will be approaching 40 years old. Even if he's still productive, every passing season makes another championship run more difficult. That's why so many people believe this offseason represented a missed opportunity. Imagine, for a moment, a veteran core featuring Steph Curry alongside LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green. Would that roster have guaranteed another championship? Of course not. Nothing is guaranteed in today's NBA. The league has never been deeper, and every playoff run depends on health, chemistry, and a little bit of luck. But would they have had a legitimate chance? Absolutely, that's what frustrates Warriors fans the most. The organization had an opportunity to create one final all-in run around the greatest player in franchise history. Instead, they once again prioritized flexibility, future assets, and long-term planning, the same philosophy they've followed. Since Kevin Durant left in 2019, maybe that strategy eventually pays off. Maybe Golden State discovers the next superstar and successfully begins a new era, but those future possibilities won't change one simple reality. Stephen Curry's championship window is closing, and every season spent waiting is one that can never be recovered.